right into it.
Okay, homie.
Welcome to 27th Letters podcast. My name is Landry Onigin Bay. Today we have a special guest. He's the first person that I actually did penitentiary time with. Also, lifer, like he's serving a life sentence. He's out now, and I was serving a life sentence, and I think I met him in 2006, and eventually I got transferred out, and I think we got caught up with each other in 2009 maybe, but at Fembrook, and then we caught up. We transferred to the same penitentiary I was at, and then I won my appeal in 2010, and we've always kept in contact. I kept in contact with his mom and so on and so forth, and our story is similar. He eventually came out in 2016, and recently published a book, Under, Over, or Through It, by Dirk Young. So there's a picture of my family right there. And Dirk, I know Dirk asked me, to let him know what I think of the book, and I told him I'm gonna tell him right now. First of all, Dirk Young, thank you for forwarding, for being here with us. I appreciate it. And your book, to me, it's inspiring personally to me, because when you read the book and you see how vulnerable you had to be to really convey and let us know what your journey was like, it really challenges me when it's time for me to write my story, because there's some things, the parts of us that we try to keep hidden, the insecurities and so on and so forth. So like we all have it,
Sure.
and you displayed that openly throughout the book, and you showed how you show your vulnerability, and I appreciate that very much, because now I got to understand you even more, So thank you so much. This book means a lot to me, and anybody that's out there that's interested in just hearing about somebody's journey and story, and this is just not just anybody. This is a person that got sentenced to serve 13 years to life in prison, and now is out doing things within the community. And out of part of him doing stuff within the community is publishing this book. So Dirk, again, I appreciate you for coming. So how you doing, my friend?
I'm all right, man. I just the anticipation of the unknown about this conversation got me feeling like I was going for a I've been trying to think of things in my head. I've been trying to rehearse.
No, Dirk, this is us. This is me and you just conversating with a few people.
No, I hear you, but I wasn't going to do any podcasts. I got offered to do a couple of radio station, and I just, I turned away from.
You know what you could do now? Anybody that asks you anything, you can send them this and say, you know what, you could check out this little interview I did.
That's why I did it. I'm comfortable because I know you. That's why I was like, I'm going to go with somebody where I can just be normal.
And I feel like it's important too.
Speaking of normal, I may as well get rid of this.
Yeah, I think it's important for me to provide this platform for people like yourself, because again, it's about being comfortable, and on top of that, having people that understand you. And I think that's part of the apprehension about
I'm allowed to be comfortable.
So like I have my own apprehension about doing a lot of things when I first came out, and but I feel like this is a good stepping stone for you, and from here I expect you to do more interviews and get out there more and do more things, and so people get to know you as I do, And
well, I remember. Sorry to cut you off. I remember when you were doing the 27th letter, and I remember one of our friends actually got his hands on a copy of the book.
Okay.
So that kind of inspired me a little bit.
So he's talking about my book 27 Letters, based on letters I wrote my daughter.
There's admiration there, right? You got out and you said you were going to do it, and you did it, and now you've built yourself a platform off of it.
And again, it's full circle thing, you know. And I remember being when I was incarcerated with you, how you showed me some of your writings early on. Like you came out, you came, say, you know, I got some script I'm working on. This was in Pembroke, I believe, and I checked it
Yeah.
out. Yo, and it's crazy. It's crazy. You know what? Let me just
Oh,
start with the questions and get into it. The way I start my
all right.
line of questioning is basically I start off with where everybody starts off, which is their mom. So who's your mom? Tell us about, you know, where you were born and so on and so forth.
My mom's name is Constance. She goes by Connie, you know that. But
Yes, 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 indeed.
viewers, I was born and raised in Wallsend, Holy Cross, Newcastle, England.
Yeah,
Lived there for 14 and a half years. My
yeah,
mom's a Canadian citizen. She left Kitchener, Ontario. She grew up with her 11 brothers and sisters, I believe.
yeah.
But she left with my dad because my dad was deported. So she was a
Mm.
young lady, moved to England, and got
And,
pregnant. Next thing you know, here comes Dirk. I'm a
and
tourist. I'm a tourist. It's my
yeah.
birthday this week, I think.
Oh,
I
is
think.
it? Oh shoot, oh,
Yeah,
shoot. So
41, man.
talking about your early upbringing in England and your dad. I know it's funny because later on down in life, you yourself had to be in a situation where you went somewhere and you needed somebody, some people to stand by you. And this is, I think, one of the things that makes your bond with your mom so strong is that the fact that you recognize the sacrifice she made early on, leaving Canada to go to stay with your dad, even though she didn't have to at
Oh
all.
no,
But
yeah.
she went, stayed with him, and then lo and behold, here you come, and they came through. And early on in Newcastle, you life was rough for y'all. The relationship between your parents was kind of tumultuous, to
Yeah.
say the least. And eventually, I guess he left. And I mean, you had a regular childhood and this is all in the book, by the way. Again, right here, under, over, or through it. You know. So yeah. So early on, you guys, your dad eventually left, and you and your mom kind of had to fend for themselves, and your mom did a lot for you early on.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, tell us about those years with your mom and being separated from your dad in New England. I mean,
Well,
Newcastle
first,
South.
I remember I was about 6.5, 7 when my dad first had to go. He was, you know, it's in the book, so I won't
Mhm.
get into details. But there was a reason why he had to go, and it was
Mhm.
very tough for my mom to do that. But I think for many years I blamed my mom because
Mhm.
you're a kid. You don't really know what's going on. You're 7. You're angry. You're pissed off. You're lashing out. So she just got the blunt of all my emotions while I was too young to sort them out for myself. You
Okay.
can't self-evaluate and analyze your own emotions at 7 years old. You just react and behave
Yeah, yeah,
off
you
of.
can't process it.
Yeah, correct. So a few couple of years was tough, and then she just did her best to thug it out till I was old enough to realize what my dad was about. And then her health wasn't the greatest. She just decided, like I would like to go back home to my family, and I want you to come with me. And I'm 14 and a half years old by then. You're considered a young adult. It's a little different than Canada. 16, you could buy cigarettes and alcohol at the time. I've been
Mhm.
taking care of my mama since I was 7, 8, 9, vice versa. So I grew up fast. So
Mhm.
therefore, when I was 14, it's kind of like somebody talking to a young man and saying, "Hey, listen, you ready?" And I was ready. I said, "Bring my dog. Let's go." So we brought my dog.
And part of what I was talking about being full circle and reading your book is I liked how your mom suggested to you when you got frustrated with how life was going, how she told you to write down your emotions to vent. And
Hmm.
that's kind of like a seed that she unknowingly she planted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of
And
course, 100%. I agree with that. Excuse me. But no, it was good that she did that because it gave me a chance to write down my emotions, even though I didn't know what was going on with me at the time, and then reread it a couple of days later and analyze it then. then deal with it correctly. Because you can't always talk to your mom or whoever when you're a young man about stuff. So you carry it with you. You bottle it up. If you don't have no venting system or coping skills. So it was good. I'm really happy she did that. But I lost it for many years. Young offender. I went to young offender when I was about 17. And I quit doing anything that excited
We're
me.
gonna get into that. There's a reason why you stopped all that. Describe the relationship between your mom and dad at that point, right before she left Canada. I mean, Newcastle.
I rarely ever saw my father. My mom had to ask some neighborhood friends, track him down. We found out where he was. By then, he had 2 other daughters with another lady, and then he was with another woman, and she was pregnant, about to have a son. So I have 2 half sisters and a half brother somewhere in Newcastle, England. So my mom tracked him down because I'm 14 and a half years old going to another country. So therefore he has to sign the paperwork.
Oh, yes.
So I remember going to the fish and chip shop with my dad. I remember it was, at the time I didn't realize, but it must have been heartbreaking for him because the love of his life is leaving and he's deported. He can never come to Canada. So, but by then we had already drifted over the years. 7 and 8, he tried to show
up. The writing was on the wall.
And he tried to show up on the weekends in the first couple of years, and then it slowly just turned into birthdays.
Sorry to cut you off, but having your dad still just in the same quote unquote country with you, you weren't getting in trouble per se with the law or anything like that.
No.
You were still just, regular child stuff that you would get into, because, he has a regular childhood like the rest of us, stuff you were doing, So, yeah. So, then the transition to Canada, was that a culture shock for you? Because you had previously been here before, but you were like a baby. So you don't know nothing about it.
I was a baby. I don't even remember coming. I just heard the story from my mom, but I don't remember it. I was like 8 months old.
Yeah. So how was that transition for you and your mom?
The transition was exciting at first. I thought it was going to be a new chapter of my life. It changed. Like I said, I brought my dog over, so I was known in Kitchener when I first landed there as the 15-year-old English kid that's always with his German Shepherd Collie. But then the culture shock of everything, I started fighting a lot. Me and my mom were fighting a lot. The disappointments. There was no family support in a certain way that I expected. Things didn't really change that I thought they were going to change. So I was disappointed and angry.
So this is where I was thinking, where if your dad was even able to be in the same country with you, maybe that's when, in those important years, those formative years, that's when you would have sought him out, or your mom could have said, hey, listen, you need to go talk to Dirk. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I think that I felt like without that male role model, you sought that elsewhere, obviously, which was out in the streets. And obviously on the streets, you know what's out there. You know what I mean? So eventually you got yourself, involved in things out there trying to survive. And then even you and your mom getting into arguments that, you decided to leave home, try to fend for yourself. You went back and forth. You went home and came back a couple of times, So by the age of 17, you're part of a gang, right? And you're actually a founder. And I find it that, and I'm pretty sure you know the same thing, the amount of talent, because a lot of guys who are incarcerated, especially when you're doing a long stretch, you have a lot of time, and you figure out, again, that's how you picked up the pencil again and started writing. And other people figure out this other gift. And the amount of people who are actually gifted in what they do, aside from you being a writer, just you being an organizer, and it's evident in you being part of the founders of the Slinger, And so how did that formulate for you at 17? You know what I mean? You say, you know what, this is the next step. This is what we need to do.
I didn't really know I was transitioning into a gang-like mentality. I thought it was more like a soccer hooligan / college fraternity. I thought we were a group of friends that gravitated toward each other. We're all like-minded. We a little bit self-destructive, but we weren't always violent. We weren't out to break laws. We weren't out to do those things. There's a snowball effect when you first consolidate and get together.
It was innocent. It was innocent at first. It was all innocent at first.
It was quite innocent, and most of it was just to make sure that we don't get jumped in the downtown areas by other groups. So we band together to show everyone else, like, hey, we're together, you're together, we won't bother you, you don't bother us. But everyone's individual problems became everyone's problems eventually, and it just has that. It has a growth to it. Everything has a level and a growth to it. It escalates, good or bad. It just goes somewhere.
So we're talking about years on the streets now that you're on the streets. Remember, his mom, she doesn't agree with what he's doing, and he's not hiding anything from her. He's not hiding anything from her. She knows what's going on, and she's not like sitting there and saying, yeah, okay, Dirk, you could do whatever you want. No, she's against it, and this is part of the issue. Health-wise, I don't think you weren't taking care of yourself. I think you gained the most weight you ever were at that point. I mean, you see Dirk right now, he's fit, but when I first met him, he was a little chubby.
Actually, since my release, I've actually put on 40 pounds. That's why I'm trying to sit down and hide my belly, because I'm a little bit.
He's also a comedian.
I'm serious. That's what happened, man. It's not all butterflies out here, man. I have struggles. I have issues too,
No, but
when I first met you,
the lifestyle took its toll on you, being out there on the streets. Talk about that, how it took its toll on you.
Well, you get into situations where you have to choose which wrong is the right one, which one is the lesser of the two evils. So you're constantly in a struggle with yourself. And a lot of people, I gravitated towards drinking because I always put on a bravado act. I always try to be the hard person. So I dehumanized myself where I had no feelings. But every time I would have alcohol, I had the opposite effect. A lot of people drink to hide how they're feeling. I was drinking in a teenager to actually have emotions about stuff so I could get it out. Because I quit writing and I didn't have a good outlet. I wasn't getting along with my mom because she didn't agree with what I was doing. And
the fighting wasn't helping because you were getting in a lot of fights.
Everybody around me we're all like-minded. So we're all putting on that act. We're all
So at this point out in Kitchener, I want you guys to know him and his crew pretty much one of the main dudes out there doing their thing. And he's one of the top guys out of this crew. So he has people beneath him that he's got to, tell what to do and so on and organize. So there's a lot of, even in a regular business, as a businessman, there's a lot of pressure in that. You know what I mean? Just having to.
I agree.
And some of these decisions might be life and death decision when you're talking about the street stuff, So yeah, that I read, reading in the book, I know, I saw how that took its toll on you and how everything kind of just transpired to what happened eventually. You know what I mean? Which brings us to May 20th, 2001. And I mean, it's in the book. You just gloss over it, let them know you got in a situation, whatever. So on and so forth.
We can discuss it.
Go ahead. So what happened that day?
Discuss it if you want. Just
a little summary of what happened that day.
I had past beefs and altercations with another group of people. They were, I'm going to use the word black. I don't know their.
No, it's okay. You think quote unquote black. Yeah. I
don't want to use African American.
No. Go ahead. For the sake of argument. Yeah.
So we're getting back and forth. It's not a race issue. There's no color.
See, before you go on, this is another thing where, Dirk is very, very educated, where when I got into more science and when I was start saying, you know, I'm not black, he got it right away. So that's why he even said what he said. You know what I mean? Because he
Thank you.
understood how this race shit is bullshit because they try to use that against him.
I agree.
Knowing very well it wasn't even about that. You know what I mean? They try to
Straight
make
up.
it a race thing. And
And
when
it
I
worked.
met Dirk,
It worked. It worked.
yeah, for people who don't know, majority of the world is Western world. They play into the race stuff. You know what I mean? They play into it.
I
So
agree.
go ahead. Go ahead.
So we're having altercations just to speed up the story, and it all
Mm-hmm.
comes somehow full circle, 360 lands in my lap. I go to the circus with my girlfriend's mother, her little brother, and the brother's best friend. I'm arriving into, it's May 20th, it's May 24, there's thousands of people in one of the biggest parks in Kitchener. It's a firework night. There's big celebration, concert, everything going on. We pull into a parking lot and I see my enemy. So I make a few phone calls. Next thing I know, we're all grouped up. We're ready to go pick a fight. People are breaking off into different groups. I'm kind of orchestrating the situation, not to the extent that was said in court, but yes, definitely I was.
Before you move on, so
Yeah,
at this point for you and for people who are listening, this is not a irregular thing for
no,
that life. And when you read the book, this was actually regular. Like it was very okay. We're gonna fight with these guys. All right, let's do this. You feel what I'm saying?
every
However, it's
group.
gonna go down. You know what I mean?
It's not,
It wasn't like, oh yeah, we're gonna go
yeah.
murder somebody. It was we're just gonna handle our business like we usually do. Go home, whatever. Talk about it, laugh about it. Whoever gets lumps gets their lumps. Lick your bruises, and next day is another day.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
What was it?
So yeah, you say you guys split up into groups.
It's 5 days after my 21st birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been beefing with these guys for a couple of years. There's history there. They stabbed one of my friends, left him for dead. Like there's a lot of stuff. It was, like I said, there's levels to it and it escalates. It gets worse. So I did a 360 and somehow landed in my lap. And that night I was paranoid that I was by myself and they're going to see me. And if I'm by myself and they see me and I'm only with my girlfriend and I don't want to leave the park, I got pride, I got ego. I don't want to be that guy. So I make a few phone calls, things get twisted. Next thing I know, big fight breaks out. And the victim, his name was Joel. He was stabbed twice. Wasn't meant to be killed. There was no plan to kill him, and he lost his life that night.
I'm glad you brought up ego, because that's also, like I said, with your story. When my story and your story is very similar in ways too. You know.
It is.
So when you talk about ego, I know there was a point where I know maybe if I would like I have asked myself, you know, in reflection, you have to, you know, they say a life that's a life that's not examined is a life that's not worth living. If you don't examine your life's not worth living. So you know, I reflect and I think to myself, what I could have done different that night. You know what I mean? Of my the incident that got me incarcerated, what I could have done different, and so on and so forth. And a lot of it always centered around ego. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%.
And
Pride always comes before the fall. Every time.
Speak about that what you've learned and how you had to change that, because by the time I met Dirk, like the person who is doing all this stuff is not the same person. By the time I met you in 2006, by the time you know when you guys got
Jalen.
So trust me, not the same person. So
No.
how did you make that transition and check your ego pretty much? So you
3.5 years in Maplehurst, you come across it's an incubator for violence, especially racism. Mm-hmm. So you got to learn. You got to understand other people's cultures. I didn't know much about Muslims or their prayers or the Quran.
Yeah, so Maplehurst is the local jail. This is where you await trial. So that's where you had to spend 3 years before you went to the pen. So those first 3 years.
And at first, my ego was still there. I thought I was going to get a
Yeah, I
master's.
saw that in the book. You still get into fights despite the big
Still,
charge you're
still,
facing.
still representing
Like
slingers.
me personally, like when I got incarcerated, I was just like, when you met me, I was just nothing, no movement, nothing. When
But it's the
you
quiet ones.
when you got when you went in,
It's the quiet ones you gotta watch out for.
yo, listen, when you went in, you were still doing it, yo. You know what I mean? So I was like, holy, you know?
Yeah, I was. But it's because of the mindset. I thought I had to have a certain status. I thought I had to have that attitude.
You're one of the big guys, so you have a lot of people looking at you and saying, "Yo, what is he doing?" You know what I mean?
Yes,
So,
yes. And then, you know, you slowly learn stuff. You go to court, pre-trial motions. You start your co-accused get sentenced a year before you, and you grow a little bit, and you go through things, and you lose things, and you realize people are not always there all the time. And there's a lot of experiences that change you emotionally, mentally, physically even. So by the time I met you, I'd already did 40 months, 3.5 years, swimming around in a provincial system wearing an orange suit like a goldfish. So by the time I met you, I still had that reputation that I built for 3.5 years. And I knew a lot of the people when I first went to J Unit because we're all incarcerated together. Plus my co-accused had already been there for 8 months, so I felt very comfortable and safe. And like everyone else, I was excited about wearing my own clothes. I was excited about having a TV in my cell. I was all the little things, but they go out the window. 6 months later, I was still wearing prison institutions. I used to tell myself when I get out, every time my dog scratches at the door, I'm going to take it for a walk, no matter what. But it's human nature. 6 months later, you're like, hey, get away from the door. Right? It's just how it is. So everything I was excited about,
the novelty wears off.
But to go back to the ego question, I realized after, remember the football incident?
Okay, so
that's when I realized I'm not as hard as I think I am, and there's a higher power, whether it's God, angels, there's something telling me you got to change, because if you don't change, man, I'm not giving you no more chances. So I changed my attitude. I did my programs. I finished my school. I asked myself, honestly, what it's like to be in society as a lifer. What does life still offer me? Because I don't want my name to echo behind these concrete walls for the rest of my life. I don't want to be this person. So, but when you're in J Unit, you were there. So you shut yourself off and you become immune and you desensitize yourself to. Remember sometimes when we saw bad things happening, they would come and put those pieces of paper under your door in case you need to see a counselor. But everyone's standing with the face in the window to make sure everyone's pushing the papers back out. You weren't even allowed to deal. You had to shut yourself down and just act like it was
for real. So yeah, it's funny. I wanted you to talk about J Unit because sometimes I mention it to people out here, J Unit, and some people have heard about it. That's familiar with the street stuff. J Unit is a maximum security prison that's within Mill Haven. Mill Haven is totally different now. It's like a protective custody place, but this is back in early 2000. I'm talking about. And J Unit was where you would go if you the worst of the worst. You know what I mean? It's next up from the shoot, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? So if you're serving a life sentence,
go ahead. I know you're in the middle of a thought, but the worst thing is some people are going in that never lived that kind of lifestyle. Let's say some guy got jealous over his wife and came home and killed his wife and got second-degree murder. That person would show up not knowing anything, go to J Unit because that's where their classification scale sent them. He's got to do 2 years minimum in a max. He doesn't know nothing about protective custody. He hasn't done anything wrong. So he's got nothing to hide. He goes to J Unit and he's thrown into this mix of, and even though it was difficult for me, it wasn't that far-fetched because I was immune to violence. I've seen people be stabbed. I've seen people get hurt. Can you imagine being that person getting thrown into that mix and never lived that lifestyle and be a witness to that?
Definitely.
Psychologically, that person has to still be released. That was a pro-social human being, probably got a good job for $40 an hour welding or something, got the right circles, the right people, and just made one horrible decision one night and never lived that lifestyle. And now he's in there with 100 other people that have lived that lifestyle. It's got to be scary. It was scary enough for me.
Listen, when I was in the Don jail before I went to J unit, after I got sentenced, there were guys who pretty much were like so scared of J unit. Like in the Don jail, they were like somebody. But once it was time to go to the J unit, some guys went to Kingston.
I know they.
In my mind, this is how scary J unit had people. Like the place was scary.
And it also depends.
I know one guy who said he said he was gonna wait in the Don jail till they heard his appeal before he goes anywhere. He was gonna wait in the Don jail, and they're like, "Nah, that's not happening." And then he thought about going to Kingston, and the mans were like, "What are you talking about? Why do you need to go there? Relax." Like, it has people that scared, you know. So those years for me, because when you're a lifer, you have to spend 2 years in a maximum security prison.
Yes, and me and you had the same lawyer. He's a judge now.
Yeah.
So it was just another bond that we had. We're like, no, what?
Yeah. Shout out Team Green. But so J Unit's no joke, so survivors. I by the time he got there, I was just about to leave J Unit, because I got to Fembroke at 2007, But
I landed at the end of 2008. I landed with you on Edgewood. Remember?
Yeah, we lived together in Edgewood. Yeah,
we lived together for a while.
With the Inuits.
You G-checked burning my eggs.
With the Inuits.
I'm still holding feelings about that, man. Telling me to clean up my frying pan because my eggs were burnt.
In your book, you talk about why do you feel like, I'm going to quote you, you will never experience that bond and walk proudly with your child? Why do you feel like you're not going to have children?
I just feel that,
because based on your life experience, you have a lot to give. And me knowing you personally, including that, says, like, I know that you'd be a great father. You know what I mean? But
you're right.
Well, I was wondering why you put that in the universe, because I feel like that's one of the things, because you didn't have that too. You know what I mean? Your dad did. I don't see you as a person that you would, in any other circumstance, leave your child. You know what I mean? Desert your child. So
fight
like
your mom did. Tooth and nail.
I know your mom taught you well, yo.
Yeah, man. Tooth and nail. Fight. Always fight. No surrender.
Yeah.
But no, I honestly believe, and I thank you for saying that, because, society looks at me, ex-convict / murderer.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to get into that.
No, but I appreciate the fact that you believe that I'd be a good father. I feel in my heart I'd be a good father. It's just when you get out and you're trying to sort out your own life and get yourself together, and there's already restrictions when you're a lifer. There's already doors that are just completely closed on you, not just because you're a lifer or because you got a federal record and you're a convict. They're just closed, period, when it comes to all kinds of circumstances in this pro-social society. But for me to go out and meet a woman, 41 years old, I think, it's 41. I'm 40, so I turned 40. I can't even remember how old I am anymore. Like, it's a blur. But next week I have my birthday, and sometimes you get to that age where you're like, well, I'm 41. Really? When am I going to meet a woman? Maybe she already has children, maybe this or that, maybe. But when you have your own struggles and your own stresses and you're already suffering from certain things.
I think I very much understand your doubt. And it's funny because when I came out, I know about my daughter. That experience kind of shook me to the core, not being able to see my daughter and so on and so forth, which is nothing that I want for anybody. You know what I mean? Because I appreciate family. So coming out, I mean, I had my empress who I was with, you know, we were together, but having children was not something that I was kind of nervous about it. Because I went through this disastrous situation where I ended up, you know, getting incarcerated and so on and so forth, and things kind of fell apart. I didn't get to see my child or be even have a hand in raising her. So it was one of our mutual friends. I was talking to him, and he's like, "What are you waiting for, man? You might want to you gotta just trust, yo. Just gotta. I feel like you just trust you. You need to trust yourself, Dirk. Like you got yourself this far, fam.
No, I understand, but I have issues with.
And
I have
also
serious
as far
issues
as the
with trust.
stigma, of being an ex-con and so on and so forth. So what? Like, yo, I remember when I first went to go meet my girl's family. Remember, yo, they're like she's from small town out of province, you know. When I went
Yeah.
to your family, this one of the friends of the family, you know, they'd be asking stupid questions, wanting to be in your business. And I just came home not too long when I met her, you know. So I didn't have much going. But I know when people are being nosy, so what do you do? What do you do? And so on and so forth. And it's like, bro, just dealing with those things and because everybody wants you to, like you judge on the title you hold out here. So when the people meet you and your story starts with maybe I just came out of jail or something because I wasn't hiding that. You know what I mean? So those are barriers that I had to, you know, overcome. You're just dealing with people in general. But at the end of the day, they don't know you. You know yourself.
Yeah.
So I don't care. You know what I mean? And as far as the finding somebody out there, again, you just gotta trust. You gotta trust yourself, fam. Just trust yourself.
No, I understand, but you gotta remember when you're gone for 15 years and then you come into this world where
So
before I,
different,
well,
eh?
it is because before I was incarcerated, people that were talking to themselves were labeled crazy. Now it's open. So when I get out, I'm sitting at a bus stop and somebody's talking. I go, "Excuse me," and he looks at me like, "What are you talking to me for?" Boom, Bluetooth. All right. So everyone's just walking around talking to himself now. The world's changed. You can't walk up to a girl and compliment her on her shoes, even though women say they want a guy to come up and be brave. If you
No,
don't have, if
you're
you
like
don't
a
have,
you'd be like a
if you
weirdo
don't
if you
have
do
an
that.
Apple phone and you don't have an email, and how you meet women now, the internet's the new
Apps,
baller. Back
apps.
in the day, you go out, you go ask for a coffee, you talk to them in person, you go to a club. Now, what? I'm 40 years old. I'm supposed to go to a club, and I don't do internet dating. Maybe I should do Match.com. I just can't do it. I feel swipe, swipe. I just can't do it. I've never downloaded the apps. Maybe that's why I'm still stuck by myself. Because that's the new dating. That's the new world. That's how it is
Yeah,
now.
that's how me and my empress met.
Yeah,
When I first came out, I was bored and I ain't shit to do, and I'm just getting familiar with the whole technology. It was
yeah.
2010, 2011, and that's how we met, fam. That's how we met. So you're gonna have to make that adjustment, fam.
No, I know, I
No,
know.
listen, I
Another
tried
one.
that too. I tried going up to a girl and
Yeah,
talking. They look at you even back then. They looked at like even then they were like, you gotta have
yeah.
the app, their app.
No, definitely.
They gotta know you on the apps and all this stuff before
Yeah.
you can
And
engage
I'm
with.
and, and I'm also very picky, not about like looks and body wise and this and that. I'm just what I project. I want returned. So I try not to talk with jailhouse terms. I don't use words like rat and goof, and I've eliminated that from my vocabulary because I don't want to project those attitudes because I'm going to get it back. So I don't want to put myself out there
You don't
with
want to perpetuate it.
ladies.
You don't want
Yeah,
to
and
perpetuate the ex-con man like type
yeah,
of.
because you're going to get that in return. You're going to get those type of women will gravitate towards you if you project that. So I've been trying to project other elements of who I am.
Beautiful, beautiful.
But like you said, you got to take the next step and put yourself out there. But when you're still struggling with trying to find a new identity for yourself, like
Well, you know,
recently, I'm not even being hired back on at my job. So now my next focus is to go out and look and start all over again for a brand new job.
Yeah,
So this,
the lockdown has messed up so much, yo. It's messed
so
up.
when you do that, it's really hard to focus on something else you need in your life because you have
Well,
to prioritize.
bro, right now it's very hard. It's very that much harder to try to meet people because nobody's out there. Nobody's going anywhere. It's
Yeah.
like it's crazy right now. Everybody's at a standstill right now, you know? You know, everybody except for Texas and Florida. Everybody else.
Yeah. I don't know. We're just living.
It's crazy. So in your
Yeah,
in your
brother.
book,
Yeah.
you plan on releasing more books?
I have another thought for another book called 13. So I'm in the middle of dealing with some people that are incarcerated that have already lost their appeals from different walks of life.
Mm,
You got one person that might have did his time in protective custody. You have another person that, you know, didn't live the street life and just got caught up in a murder case. There's another guy I know where he killed the person that molested his two nieces and nephew. So
naturally,
yeah,
as it
so
should.
I have this story called 13 for obvious reasons, 12 jurors, one judge, and it's going to be 13 stories from 13 other lifers, and they're all
Mm,
going to be about 10 to 15 pages apiece. So the book will be a quick read, it'll be under 200 pages, but it's not going to be 13 street life thug
no,
oriented.
no, you're gonna
Yeah,
get 13 different perspectives,
yeah,
basically.
and then I'm going to try and utilize Lifeline out of Hamilton and Windsor, which is
Yeah.
an organization that helps out
Mhm.
lifers. And
Yes.
I don't know how it is. It's just a lot of other halfway houses don't have that platform. I think more halfway houses should have that platform where if you're an ex-alcoholic, who's going to understand? So you go to AA. If you're got addiction issues, who's going to understand? So you go to narcotics addiction
Mm.
courses with other
Yeah,
people
yeah.
that are trying to. So this program is Lifers Helping Lifers. That's why out in Windsor, I can hang around with other lifers that me and you both know, but
Mm.
you can't do that in other towns or cities. You go back to jail, automatic
And
parole violation.
I feel like that's a big disservice that CSC needs to change because they know, based on statistics, of all people, we are the least to go back.
Least,
So,
least.
but at the same time, we probably have the least amount of help out here because of the amount of time we've done. Because a lot of people don't understand when you go away for that length of a time, 15, 20 years,
Yeah,
your peers, they've gone that way with their life. You know what I mean? They skyrocketed up the ladder to do what they need to do, and you're
yes,
down here. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, like a lot of work that needs to
a
be
lot.
done for us to just even keep our heads above water. You know what I mean? As a
Definitely.
as a life of being out here. So yeah, I feel like our community, the lifers community, we need to, really organize better. Especially there's
One hundred percent. Yeah.
a lot more mans out here now. You know what I mean? That did time with us.
There is, and a lot more people can adapt out here. Like I said, a lot of people were pro-social before they went in, so
For
their
sure.
incarceration wasn't a part of their identity. Their incarceration was the whole time they were in prison. They knew when they were going to be released, they're going back to who they were really are. So it's a lot easier for them because they were pro-social. They had a 9 to 5 job. So when they get out, they land right back into where they were. They can go pick up. They got the skills. They know, and they want nothing to do with that. They want to put it behind them. They don't want to. So a lot of lifers are successful because that was just a small little piece they had to do to move on with their life. But for me, it was a huge part of actually who I am. 14 and a half years I was in England. So England's a huge part. I was only in Kitchener Canada Society for 8 years. I was incarcerated for 15 years. So of course it's a huge part of, it's almost half of my life. It's a
Yeah,
huge part of who
the
I am.
whole time in this
But
part of the world, you were incarcerated.
no, but the thing is, I got to try and pick the best pieces from all those lives, from all those experiences, and try to find a new identity for myself because, next month is basically my 4th year anniversary of being released. And like I said, I go through a lot of struggles,
Yes,
emotionally
yes, yes,
and psychologically.
yes, yeah,
So,
and talk about that. Just again, I touched on it, just the work that has to be done to get your life back together. You know what I mean? Mentally, it's exhausting. This is why I'm grateful for my empress, because when you're saying trying to build an identity, she was around when I kind of started rebuilding my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So even while you're still building, from the right person is there, you could still have that relationship. You feel what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
definitely. No, I agree.
don't think you need to do one before the other. And from the
No,
right
no.
person there, that person's gonna help you build that, rebuild that
Yeah.
identity. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, I agree with you. And you also got to be able to prioritize your bullshit. The problem
Mm-hmm.
is, I used to put all my problems in one big pile, and it was too heavy to carry. Then I
Mm-hmm.
started realizing, well, I can't deal with that problem right now, so I'm going to put it off to the side. Let's break down this bullshit pile that's too heavy for me to carry, put it in the categories, and then find out which one's priority. So right now, I'm in a bit of a rut.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say I'm depressed, but I get miserable, and
Mm-hmm.
now I have to prioritize what comes first:
Mm-hmm.
relationships, social mental health, or do I need to go out and get employment? Do I have to work on my exercise to lose a little bit of weight so mentally I can feel more prepared and better about myself? Instead of putting all this crap together in one big bowl where it's too friggin' heavy to carry, I've learned, I got the skill, but it's still hard not to put it in a big bowl. So I'm happy that you had, basically a fiance to guide you and talk to you
Yeah,
and keep
yeah,
you
yeah,
together.
yeah,
So
yeah.
when you're doing it
And you know
alone
what
inside
too?
of your head,
And you know what too? It also helped that she's a social worker, so she's educated in that background, anyways too. So
yes,
I mean, I'm blessed in that regards. I'm grateful for my empress. And this is why I'm saying, like, that's don't leave that door closed, because
no, never.
if you could get that key piece in there, Dirk.
Yeah,
Oh man, you know what I mean? Everything's gonna be
over.
gravy. You know what I mean? Everything's gonna be gravy. But I wanted to touch on. I really enjoyed the way you wrote the book, in particularly, because once you get the book, the characters are not the actual names of the people, but the actual people. But you switched it up. You know what I mean? Because I know
Yes.
you're Kowi. I know you're Kowi, but that's not the
Yeah.
name you called them in here. So why did you do that the way? Why did you write the book the way you wrote it in that format? Why?
To protect people's new lives. The same reason I try not to post certain photos of our history. A lot of people are like, how come you don't have any photo of us in the story? I go, because other people might read that and recognize you from work. And that was
Mhm.
your life from 15 years ago. And
Mm,
I don't want it to affect you now.
mm,
And then my truths are not always somebody else's truths, because it comes down to a belief system. It comes down to experiences and perceptions. And so whether I was there or not, whether me and you are at the same scene or not, however you take, whatever you take in, and whatever I take in is whatever I take in, that becomes my truth. So when I wrote a story, I wanted it to be my truth. The only problem is I read other books from other people that were incarcerated. I'm not trying to knock anybody, but they were still ego based. It was still like, I'm king shit. I was hard. I was the dude. Nobody was ever scared. Nobody cried. Nobody
Thank
was.
you. Thank you,
So
Dirk. But this is exactly what I told you about your book. You know what I say in the beginning is you did exactly what you set out to do. Let them know that yes, I went through this, but I'm no different from you in this
but
regard.
no, you're right. But I also didn't want the book to just speak to people that were incarcerated. I didn't want it to be a jail story. I didn't want it to be a Kitchener tale where it's just about Kitchener. I didn't want it to be about just two friends. It was
Mhm.
very hard for the direction to go in. And that's why I went into the direction of belief systems, because at the end of the day, you have to know why you gravitate towards what you gravitate, why you have a thought process, why we're different. Even when it comes to religion, think about it. Like a person's beliefs. Try having a conversation about dinosaurs with somebody that believes the Earth's only 6,000 years old,
Buddy,
and then
try having a conversation about COVID.
anything, anything. But it comes down to an individual's belief system. But when you challenge them and say, okay, all right, I'm not fighting your belief, but You don't even need to back it up with facts, but do you know where that comes from? Do you know why you feel that way or think that way? When did you adopt that? When did you pick that up? What experience did you have to? People don't know how to individually self-evaluate themselves to actually know who they really are. You ever ask the person, why do you think that? They're like, oh, I don't know, it just popped into my head. And you're like, you don't even know what triggered you to have that thought. You don't even know yourself.
Yo. There's too much zombies out here, yo. You know.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what? One thing I realized about before I got incarcerated, I was very naive to my peers because
Yes.
I didn't have somebody within my family because it was just my mom and she was ill. So imagine me, I was like 16, I was running this household, my mom was ill. So basically she's suffering from alcohol abuse and so on. She has mental issues and I had siblings. So early on it was just me. And again, just like you, I was and just the man them out there, you know what I mean? But I was naive to my peers because I thought everybody, well not everybody, I thought my friends thought like me. But it wasn't like that until I found out. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, the way things different and so on and so forth. So
Definitely.
that was an awakening for me. And I know
No.
you went through that too, because you being the stand-up person you were, there's so many things. Like even I give you an example. You touched on what was it, page 129 of the book, right? You touched on
Let me
no,
get my
you don't need to look at it. You don't need to look at it. You talk. So I want to set up the scenario. So the scenario is basically, yeah, you've been arrested at this point, and you're about to. This is right before your trial, and this is the type of games that the system plays. Maybe CSC is not aware of it, but some of your guards are doing this damn game.
8 days before my sentencing.
No, the star witness was put in
Okay. Yeah.
put 3 different times in the same range, cell, and so on. And I experienced that too. One time I went to court. It was so random too for a different charge. And one of the guys from the actual case, the star witness, was in the bullpen. And again, just like you, he was cowering, like there was no fight in him. And I'm thinking to myself, what would make these people allow the system or these guards put them in that position? If you were not there to confront us or go with because there's no way it's a coincidence, especially with your case, 3 times.
No, 100%. And with my case,
and they were just trying to set up a fight, basically. That's what it is. With my case and yours, they're trying to set up a fight and make it look even worse on our part.
Well, you got to remember that it took him 21 months to make an arrest. So by the time I was going to trial, it's been 5 years. It's already tainted. It's been in the newspapers forever. By then, I'm already some sort of Nazi skinhead, whatever it may be. By then, I'm this guy. It's over. It's been half a decade. That's something I had to deal with in the bucket regularly before people started to realize, this guy makes a better friend than an enemy, and he's not at all what we think. Like he's, like he's like actually more hood than the rest of us. So a lot of people,
definitely.
We got a saying, real recognize real. But the dude was never really cowardness. The dude just didn't know how to deal with me because me and him didn't know how to hate each other. We had a reason to hate each other. You stabbed my friend supposedly and got found guilty. One of my best friends killed your friend. We have a reason to be enemies. We have a reason for it. He has a reason to be angry. I have a reason to be angry. But for some reason, there was something there between me and this cat where it wasn't really cowardness. He just more was like, fuck, man, really? Like, we're just 2 pawns in this fucking game. Like, sometimes I recognized it more than him. But you remember, in Maplehurst or the Dawn, they take your card, your identification card, when you come in the A&D, and they write on the back which ranges you're going to go to, who you can't be with. You don't really get to see on the back, but the guards do. So I knew every time they try to set this thing up between me and him, it was purposely done, but it was also, in my gut feeling, for whoever was against me to be able to go to court and say, yo, listen, see, it's been 5 years and look at the animosity. there's still a problem here. But they didn't really get nobody.
And you know what? And it makes me think.
But that's where, sorry to cut you off, that's where a lot of people get fucked up over the.
No, I was gonna say that.
No, but not just about getting like physically fucked up, but that's where there's a lot of talk about incompatibles. Because the police forward information and the SIO and the institutions keep those people separated, and those two people start thinking that, well, I can't go to the same jail as you. You must have put me down as an incompatible. And it causes friction. And then they don't know any better, so they talk shit, and then somebody else talks shit. And then before you know it, somebody else is defending their friend, and there's a beef all over, and none of it was true. So, you know, me and this guy can't be up in the same range, but he never put me down as an incompatible. I never put him down as an incompatible. But for some reason, they still try to create a lot of issues. And it sucks.
This is what I'm saying. They do stuff to stir the pot, and if those little peons,
it's an incubator for violence.
If those little peons, the CSC guards, could do that, you know, not all of them are peons, but
no,
you know what I mean. So if it makes you think about what's going on out here in the streets with the cops. What are they doing? How are they stirring the pot? You dig what I'm saying?
100%.
I've heard stories of this playing both sides and getting the hornet's nest stirred up.
No, but they do it on purpose.
It helps with their numbers at the end of the day.
Of course, you got to meet your quota. Plus, sometimes it's just human instinct. You're in a position of authority, so you know you can turn around and say to somebody that's a little bit ignorant in their head and doesn't know how to think correctly, "Oh, you know what? So and so is talking about you." It's the same as the police tactic when they walk in and say, "Yo, the other guy just wrote a statement." Some people fall for that. So on the streets, they fall for it.
48.
And sometimes the police officer, some police officers are actually that naive where they're just pissed off at one guy. So they actually talk shit about him to the wrong person is all. They're so naive in their head, they don't know the ripple effect because they can't understand the criminal mind. They don't understand how it escalates. And they're like, oh, I can't even have the forethought of how it even got there. Well, why can't you think that far ahead? Because you don't have the same experiences. You've never. It's just. It's very difficult.
Those are the cops that are not good, because they always said a good cop knows the criminal mind. You know what I'm saying? And a good criminal minds know the cop's mind. You feel what I'm saying? So
no, I do.
Yeah, those are the whack peace officers out there.
Yeah. Did you, when you got incarcerated, did you get put down as STG, Security Threat Group?
No.
So you never got that struggle.
No. They brought it up at trial. They asked because it happened on Metro Housing property. They asked the Metro Housing security guy if me and my friends, if he considered me and my friends a gang. He goes, no. We were just more friends that hung around. You know what I mean?
Well, with me, when I say I belong to a gang, I can only speak for myself. There's other people that were in the group that don't feel like they belong to a gang. So I can't really speak about their beliefs or how their perspectives are. I can only speak about myself and how I felt when I belonged to this group. But when we went to the court, there was a gang specialist that was brought in, and we had all the attributes, we had all the levels, but
all the boxes checked.
Yeah, but we didn't quite meet the criteria because there was no hierarchy. There was no hierarchy.
Yeah, you talk about that in the book. You talk about
that. So we in trial, we weren't allowed to be called a gang. The jury wasn't allowed to hear that we were a gang. But the jury came from a city where they've been reading about us for 5 years in the newspaper.
City. You know what I mean? What's the population of Kitchener back then?
I'm not even too sure. I know it's one of the fastest growing cities in the last 10 years. I know. I know that. I know it's a big deal now, but not when I was there. We're talking almost 20 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Yo, tell me about the first day you came out. How was that for you? That freedom when you're actually, because leading up, you know what? This is what I want you to touch on. What was the process like of you getting your freedom? The stuff you had to go through, because a lot of people don't understand like it's easy to go in, but it's hard to get out. Even when you're doing the right thing, it's hard to get out. You know what I mean?
No, 100%. So
what were the steps that you had to take to get out? And what was that like when you finally got out?
All right. Well, I'm looking at the time on my phone. So just give me like 3 minutes and I'll try to spit it out as fast as I can.
Mhm.
Touching on the STG, that's security threat group. So let's say you're from a certain neighborhood and you hung around for certain kind of people your whole life, but you never belonged to a gang. But the police officer tag you with that label. So when you get incarcerated, it's so hard to beat it. You can't get out of that STG. And it limits you for the things you can actually do and the jobs you can do on the institution. So it's like, no, he's STG. But you can turn around and say, I'm not STG, but you have to go to court to prove that you're not an STG. Now, if you can, it's almost impossible unless you get 5 or 6 people that are willing to do it, and it costs money. So once you're labeled STG, you're kind of screwed. But let's say you go to jail and you're just a guy. And you start hanging around with known
gang members,
or supposedly they're STG or they belong to a biker group. The security intelligence officer of the institution is not allowed to label you STG. They don't have that power. What they do is they're allowed to accumulate evidence through video, through cameras, through pictures, through whatever, send it to Ottawa, and a specialist in Ottawa then calculates there's enough evidence to say, yeah, we think this person's starting to hang around with this. We're going to put him down as STG.
Wow.
So that's how the security intelligence officer is allowed to put you down as STG if you weren't STG when you first came in. So I learned this back when I was in J Unit. And when I got the Fen book, I realized that Kitchener was tagging a lot of people that were not slingers as a slinger member, knowing that it would cause them problems on the inside with trying to be released. Because you STG, there's restrictions. You can't get a kitchen.
It hinders you.
You can't. It was very difficult. So I did a non-association, disaffiliation. So slingers no longer existed by then. So how can I belong to a group that does not exist? For example, if, a biker group no longer existed, how could you be a member of that group if it's no longer? So Waterloo Regional Police knew that the group I belonged to no longer existed. So I did a disaffiliation letter. It went to Ottawa. They clicked the button and now I'm non-active. But anytime they want, they just click the button and I'm active again. I'm STG. But the reason why I did that, it was selfish on my part because slingers didn't exist no more. I was moving forward with my life and I disaffiliated myself, not from my friends, but from the attitude and the mentality and the ego and the gangbanging. I no longer was that dude. I was Dirk Young now trying to go home. So other people that came in, went to Collins Bay, other jails, I would send them the disaffiliation so they could give it to their parole officer and say, hey, how can I be STG for a group I've never belonged to where this documentation is proof from Ottawa and the Waterloo Regional Police that this group no longer exists?
So you set the precedent.
So it helped a lot of people get rid of that and get through the system. But
Isn't that funny? Look, but you don't see the full circle of that? The same group you founded, you're helping people get out of it on paper through their paperwork. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
It
didn't exist. A lot of people just used
it
as
and when I first met you, you were so serious about disassociating yourself from this that he actually has a tattoo that says "Rest in Peace, Slingers." Like I was like, what is that?
It's the 5 W's: where, what, when, why, and who. So when you belong to a criminal organization, there's a code of when you're honorably discharged. So for other criminal organizations to understand that you respect the code, but you no longer abide by it, like you don't want to be involved in it, but you respect it, but you don't want to hear those conversations, don't bring those talks.
Like the army, like you're leaving the army. You got an honorable discharge.
So you get a gravestone. So mine says, once upon a time, Kitchener's original slinger gangster, but that's because I was an idiot and I wasn't a gangster. I was a wannabe gangster. Let's just face it. That's what I was. I was a thug and a punk and I was gravitating towards that. I wanted to be that maybe later on in life, but I was definitely a wannabe gangster. So it's a gravestone, so other people on the inside that are still criminally involved will know Dirk respects the code, but he doesn't want to be involved. So let's not ask him if he wants to start selling drugs with us. Let's not even talk to him because he's already
they honored it. They honored your decision.
honored it. So that was my decision, and it's a that's what the gravestone stands for. It's an announcement to everybody out of respect. Like, don't even pull me into that. I you know what I mean? Yeah. So to speak on getting released as a lifer, to speak on being released as a lifer, sorry, there's a knock at the door.
Yeah, the steps you have to go through.
So when you get life, I got life 13. So therefore, after 10 years, the doors open for me to start taking UTAs or ETAs, which is unescorted temporary absences or escorted temporary absences. But you have to be in a minimum to meet those dates, because I'm not allowed to get parole as a lifer until my dates are there. So therefore, if you get life 13, doesn't mean, it means you have to do 13 years minimum before you're eligible for parole. But between your 10th and your 13th year, you're eligible, depending on the facility you're in, if you're in a minimum, to apply for a work release. But that doesn't mean you go out by yourself. You're escorted is escorted. So you got ETAs. So you have to go through that, but you have to get a good parole officer. The parole officer has to make sure you went through the steps, you've been in the institution, you've behaved, and then you apply for it. You got to wait 5 or 6 months to get in front of the parole board. You finally get in front of them. You explain yourself from what's going on, answer your questions, own your part. They give you ETAs. You do that for maybe a year, and then you apply again, depending on your parole officer. You apply again for UTAs now. That's the next level. You get a UTA, you've been working with a halfway house.
Mind you, this is while he's doing all of this, they're watching his behavior. Any slight slip up, we know people who the slightest of slip up, they'll have to go back.
Ordering a CD.
It delayed them years.
The rules. Ordering a CD gets you a charge. You can ask your neighbor in the real world for a cup of sugar, but don't ask somebody in the institution. Now, they created that rule because they know drama comes out of it. Yeah, maybe that person borrows a CD to somebody else, or maybe they lose it, or that's how people pay their debts. So they try to limit any issues. So they make these rules, but these rules are the ones that cause you problems, because now the parole looks at it like you can't even follow one simple little rule while you're incarcerated. But people are looking at it like, all I did was borrow a CD, man.
But see, this
like, yeah, that's all you did, but you were told you can't do that. And if you're willing to do something so tiny, what will you do when no one's watching you in society? It's the way they look. That's their mentality. That's their perspective. So once you learn their language and how they think, you can start to be like, okay, all right, I see it now. I know how to. There's it on the inside, to be honest with you, there's people that will never succumb to the whip, so therefore they never get out. There's other people that
I was going to tell you too. I was going to touch on that none of this is guaranteed. There's people who are serving who started a life 7 and they're still in 20 years later.
Yes,
it all depends on who you are and the choices you make in there. So like you're in a fishbowl, no pun intended, got the aquarium behind me, but you're in a fishbowl and they're watching you, and it's not an easy road. I remember there was a time, because I didn't want to give a dirty piss test when I was in J unit, I wanted to go to medium, leaving a maximum security prison. I gave a dirty piss test, and just to avoid the bullshit that comes with giving a dirty piss test, I didn't smoke. You know what I mean? And even within that, guys will go to great lengths to get what they need to, to get the weed in. But sometimes some guys are happy. It's a happy occasion when they get the weed in. So you want to smoke with, hey, guy. And there's times I'm saying no. And sometimes guys are looking at me like, yo,
you okay? Something wrong with you? But it's like, I know what I need to do to get the fuck out of here. And
no, 100%. And then there's also that mind manipulation game where the next man's looking at you like, yo, you're moving kind of suspect just now. And then you got to explain yourself.
Touch on it, a man got mad. He got upset.
Yeah, for sure. And you're like, yo, listen, why are you hating on me? I'm just trying to get released. Like, do you? What do you think I'm doing? Are you to get information? Remember this joke? Remember? But it's a mind game. Like for me, I was always worried about people trying to come to Windsor that didn't really like me because it can put me down as an incompatible and stop me from coming to Windsor to a halfway house that has Lifeline and the support that I need. So I have to play a different kind of game. I have to play the lifer game where I have to pretend to be friendly with these dudes because I know they can snake me, and I know they're.
You're thinking long range, yo. You're thinking long range.
Yeah, but some guys can't do things physically, so they do it like a girl. They kind of, you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Yeah. So getting out was a long thing, but I don't know if you know this or not. But I got set back 2 years on a work release where other mans were violating, and my name came up, and I was interviewed, and I was under the belief and speculation that this SIO, I've heard about it for so long in Fenbrook and everything else, that I created my own ending. You ever heard of that self-fulfilling prophecy? So I was sitting there with a bad attitude thinking I haven't done nothing wrong. I don't know nothing about nobody else's business. You can't hurt me. But I did. I ended up going back to Fenbrook, sitting in segregation, thinking this is it. No matter what I do, I'm never getting out. So I filed for a habeas corpus, which is my charter of rights to have the evidence produced in front of a Supreme Court. So the security intelligence officer had to bring all her stuff
evidence
to court. And then the judge said, listen, man, there's no reason for this person to be harmed. Put him right back in the minimum. But I had to go back to the lion's den where she belonged. She was respectful, never held on to any hurt feelings or anything like that. She never came after me for anything else. But that took another 2 more years of my life because now I lost all my gains. I lost my ETAs. I lost my UTA parole hearing.
So and I had to redo all of that over again.
The judge ordered me to pick up where I left off, so I had to reapply to the parole board for unescorted temporary absence. So therefore, when I applied, I waited the 6 months. They granted me the UTAs. Then I have to wait for a bed to be open so I can go to the halfway house because I got 3 days, 3 days, and 7 days. But I had to do that over a whole year and then apply to go in front of the parole board and wait another 5 months before I even had a chance to go for day parole.
It's crazy.
So it's not like you do 2/3 of your time and you're out, or you go for. It's different for lifers. Yeah. It's not right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, you hear it from the man himself. You heard it from me. It's not easy. It's not easy getting out. So don't be putting yourself in a position to get locked up. His story, he's very transparent with his story, as I am transparent, and we're out here being transparent for a reason, because we understand the errors of our ways, and now we want to be the change. You know what I mean? We want to see. So we want to embody that change that we want to see within our own community. Dirk, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, dog. You know that.
I got so much love for you. Like, this book, I'm telling you, inspired me. Again, where can they get this book?
Amazon.
Yeah. So, and just in case they want to contact you, anybody, you have a social media, Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, I have both. Dirk Young, the author.
So which one is which? Is it is it the same thing on Facebook?
Facebook, Instagram. I don't really mess with the Instagram too much, but if you want to message me, you can find me on Facebook.
Excellent.
And I look forward to your book.
You know what?
I know you got it in your head.
No, you know what? I'm working on it. I need to sit down with my mom. I got some questions I got to ask her, because it's just for, you know what I mean? Background stuff. so on and so forth. But it's something that we working on this. Like I said, Dirk, it was a blessing. I want to let you
Yeah,
know when I was incarcerated, meeting people like yourself made it easier to face the day. Straight up, I appreciate you, brother. You know what I mean?
I
When
appreciate you very much, and thank you for
I
giving me.
remember being on the range in Fembrook one time. I'm sitting in front of the TV and waiting for a movie. Sometimes we have movie nights. There's a premiere, and we all, and
Yeah,
people getting food, whatever snacks we need. And I'm just sitting there like I was the first one in line, sitting waiting for this movie, sitting on the couch. Dirk walks by. So yo, what you say? You say you're waiting for the movie, and I gave you like a, I don't know. I guess I gave you like a dumb look. And being a comedian, you're like, all right, it's the way you laughed, and I'll never forget that moment. You know what I mean? So those are times that I appreciate it. Again, I appreciate you. I appreciate your journey. Thank you so much. Like I said, I love you, brother.
I love you too, man. Thank you very
Your
much.
mom, I know things are not the greatest between you and your mom. Still, you guys still, have your little arguments, but you guys figure it out. Like we don't have much time here with these people, with each other. You know what I mean? This is why I'm gonna sit here, and like I said, you're the first person that I actually did pen time with. I'm sitting down to do this with. And
Yeah,
it's my way of letting you know what I mean? Like I appreciate you, you know what I mean? This is your flowers, me giving you flowers. And I want to do that. I want you to do the same thing with the people around you. We all need to do this. We appreciate the people around us because again, we don't have that much time here, you know what I mean? Life is not missed, you know what I mean? So again, thank you so much, Dirk. Again, you can get the book on Amazon. See it right there, under,
yeah.
over, or through it. I need to get myself a autograph. I need a signed copy from you, fam.
Yeah, man.
I need to get one, and inshallah, hopefully one day.
It's nice to see your face, man. We
Yes,
we haven't even done this. Like, well, why haven't we done this yet?
It's crazy. It's good to hear from you, bro. And
yeah, it's good to hear from you,
Dirk
man. I'm
Young,
happy for you, man. God bless.
Thank you. Get his book on Amazon right here, under, over, or through it. You know what I mean? And he did it. I appreciate you again. The way you wrote the book was excellent. Like I was right there. Like I understood everything. Knowing you, I'm like, holy, like I can hear you the way you're talking. Like it's crazy.
No, respect still. Respect.
I appreciate you again.
No, I appreciate you.
Day, my brother. Again, say hello to your mom. Say what up to the man. When you see the man, much love to the man. Yo, Kip got married. Oh my God! You sent me that picture.
I think that was him knocking at my door.
Yo, Kip is one of the lifers. Good-hearted dude. Like I met him in J Unit. He got married not too long ago, like a couple of weeks ago. Did you go to the wedding?
Yeah, I went there. I went to the wedding.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Yeah. See, Kip got in. You're next, bro. Yeah.
No, I know.
Kip got in. You already know, brother. I'll talk to you later, okay?
All right, homie. You don't know.
Love you.
I love you too.
All right.
All right.